Greetings! I think we're live! It is Mari Smith here. Welcome to the Sequential Success live webcast. I am here in a lovely studio in San Diego with my very special guest, a longtime friend and amazing business mentor, Ann McKevitt.
Thank you, Mari. It's so great to be here, and thank you very much for tuning in to watch. We've got so much to share with you. I can't wait to get started, but over to you, Mari. You're probably going to start telling people what kind of bonuses and amazing things you're going to get.
They are, well, listen, Ann and I are both Scottish, and we're actually going to break the stereotypes of Scots women today, because we're going to be so generous and giving away tons of great stuff and really wonderful information to help you grow in your business and in your life. So we actually do have some prizes. Sharing is caring, folks, so please feel free to share this live webcast, sequentialsuccess.com/live. You're seeing that above you on this webcast that you're watching. Please feel free to share that all over Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you wish online, and we are going to actually be scooping up some special prize winners. We do have some great prizes we're going to be giving away, and a wonderful grand prize as well. So actually, I'll give you a sneak peek at what they are. So you're going to be able to get 3 lucky winners are having up to $250 Amazon gift voucher. You can buy a Kindle or a Fire or an Echo, or maybe put it towards a new 360 camera that you can actually use to do some Facebook living with. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, because it'd be great if people who win that can maybe use it for part of their business.
Absolutely.
So that's why I wanted to give you tokens, so that you can actually invest in something that you need for your business to help you improve your outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have one lucky winner who's going to have a grand prize that you're going to have a business makeover with personal attention from both Ann and I. Also, of course, we've got all kinds of amazing information here for you today. So get ready to take a lot of notes. You're welcome to tweet. By the way, we do have a hashtag. It is hashtag #SSWebcast. Okay? Made it nice and short and simple for you. So SS for Sequential Success Webcast. All right? So now then, I think that we are absolutely ready to go ahead and dive right in, and I want you to know more about Ann and her story. So I think let's just do that. I think most people here know me. I'll share a little bit about myself. A Facebook expert, many years as a longtime passionate social media thought leader and Facebook marketing expert. Actually was hired by Facebook last year and went on tour with the company around the US, training small business owners how to use Facebook. And one of the things I am known for is taking non-Facebook people and converting them into Facebook people. So guess what? Ann, believe it or not, is not on Facebook yet, but as of last night, she told me she's going to turn into a convert.
Yeah, I'm going to be. I am on Twitter and I am on Instagram, but to be honest, I've kind of avoided Facebook because I felt that Facebook needed so much kind of work and effort. And I'm somebody who doesn't like to let people down. I like to be able to give of myself and do that properly. But I think finally, Mari's convinced me that it's the right thing. And also, the big change for me, I believe, is that Facebook Live is just phenomenal. I did a Facebook Live yesterday with Mari, and I think the most amazing thing about that is that, you know, here it is, a chance for me to share content kind of instantly with people.
Yeah.
I might have to be a bit more makeup ready for those moments, but it means that I can share all of my insights. I might be out doing something, I may be with a client, I may be in a retail space, and I want to share something that I'm seeing with an audience. So it would be an ideal way for me to do that. So I'm probably going to get Mari, the queen of Facebook, to help me set the whole thing up.
So, do you hear that, Mark Zuckerberg? The Facebook Live is what's flipping the switch for many people out there that really get the vision of what's possible with Facebook. So, let's go ahead and you'll find out a little bit more about how Ann and I met and the impact that she's had on my business. We worked closely together, myself and her team, over the last several years. So, I'd love to hear more about your story and really to help the audience here understand how it is that you got started in business. And I know that you started with very little money, like myself, way back when. So please help us understand, like, where you got started to where you are now.
Well, we're very young. We you know, this has only happened like a couple of years ago. Well, I originally started out in fashion. So I was 15 years old when I left Scotland and I went to London, and I started my first job, which was in fashion, and I had a job with a guy called John Frieda, who had his own salon. And in that salon, I learned so much. That was like, going to a fast track university, because almost every client that came in that door was a very notable person. They were either a celebrity, or they were a member of the royal families, or they were somebody like Tim Rice, who was at that time creating the musical Evita. Lots of film stars, politicians, Margaret Thatcher, all these people were the clients. So I had the most phenomenal time in that first year when I was 15 years old, learning and hearing all these insights. And I literally thought that it was normal to do. If you dreamt of something, then you turned it into that finished, tangible thing. And I remember people like Boy George coming in from Culture Club, and he would sort of tell me what his new song was going to be, and then sort of 6 weeks later it would be in the charts.
Wow.
So I kind of saw all these things being hatched. And I remember when I was 15 shampooing Tim Rice, and I was saying to him, what musical are you working on at the moment? And he said, well, I'm thinking about doing this thing. It's about this woman who's from Argentina, and her name's Evita. And, the rest is history. We all know that Evita became an enormous musical and eventually a film. So I saw all these amazing people talk about the things they were doing and then hatch those into real, tangible things and make them happen. Also, I was very much involved in big fashion shoots. So the very first shoots that I did were for things like magazines like Vogue and Elle and Cosmo. And I had the opportunity at 15 to work with Anna Wintour, who, as we all know, is very famous as the editor of Vogue. And again, I saw how that whole world worked, and had amazing insights from that too. So fast track forward, when I was 19, I was involved in a very bad car accident. And that kind of changed everything for me, because at that point, the media was saying I was one of the top 4 hairstylists in the UK with all the work that I was doing and all the magazine covers and fashion shoots and catwalk shows. And suddenly my world just fell apart. So for 11 months and 23 days and 8 hours, not that I was counting, I lay completely flat on my back and was unable to move, and was told in the early stages that I may not walk again. And actually the very first 4 months I didn't talk. It wasn't that I couldn't talk, I had just kind of shut down. Because here I was, I'd gone from having this amazing life in London to suddenly now just being flat on my back in a room, unable to kind of move or do anything. My husband said I've made up for the lack of that 4 months of not talking many years later. So the other part for me, I think, during that period was that I lived in my imagination because I couldn't actually move and I couldn't do things. So I was kind of living in this world that wasn't really tangible and real, but I knew that I wanted to achieve and do things. And when the doctors said to me, look, we don't know if you're going to walk again, for me, that was like a red rag to a bull, okay? If I'm told I can't do something, that means I'm going to show you how. I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to make it happen. So I then set about making myself well. I was very fortunate that I had friends from doing hair were Paul and Linda McCartney. And Paul and Linda stepped in and they helped fund my treatment for the next few years to actually get well. So had they not financed that, I don't really know what would have happened, but Paul and Linda McCartney stepping in changed my life in ways that is just, unthinkable really if I hadn't had that help. And getting that financial help allowed me to learn to walk again and to move and eventually start to rebuild a life. So then when I was 23, this was all still part of my recuperation period. I couldn't go back into fashion because I'd been my back had been damaged so badly I couldn't work in that area anymore. And I had got married and I decided that I would do up my apartment and turn that into something that looked a lot more attractive. It wasn't, I didn't set out to do a business in property development, but that's what ended up happening. So I developed this property, and when the property was finished being developed, all my friends said to me, you should actually put this on the market. It looks incredible, and you know, I think you'll get a lot of money for it. And this was the last recession, not the one we've just had, the one before. And so I put the property on the market, and very quickly I had all these amazing people wanting to buy it. So I had people like supermodel Kate Moss wanted to buy it. I had Alexandra Schulman, who was editor of Vogue, wanted to buy the apartment, and then various well-known musicians as well as some ordinary people. And ultimately I sold that apartment to an American gentleman. But Alexandra Schulman, who was editor of Vogue, had wanted to buy the apartment and was going through the contract process when this American guy came in and he offered more money. So when I eventually sold it to this American gentleman, Alexandra Schulman came back to me 3 or 4 days later and said, I want to buy your next apartment. And I was like, okay, maybe I could actually do this as a business.
Wow.
So I didn't set out to do a business. So at 23, here I was with an opportunity. So the opportunity presented itself. I saw what I'd been able to do with that first apartment, and I thought, well, I'll do another one. And fast track a year, I ended up having 40 guys working in my team and had turned it into a multi-million-pound business within a year. Wow. Very, very quickly. So every property I was doing was in West London, which is a very affluent area. I was very targeted about which properties I bought, how I did them up, and how they would be presented to look so that I would get the top selling price for each property. So it was very much about creating a path to the biggest financial outcome. But the other thing was that I didn't know how to do any of the work. So from day one of running my business, I learned how to delegate, which is something that most business owners, whether they're small business owners or mid-sized business owners, they don't do well at all. And because I didn't know how to plumb, I didn't know how to put a bath in or a toilet or how to put electricity into an apartment, I had no choice but to learn to delegate straight away on that first day. And I carried that right through to the present day, where delegation is an incredibly important part of running any business. And then from that, I started to become the most successful property developer in West London. And I did several hundred properties over a 4 or 5 year period. And then I caught the attention of the BBC. So the BBC were about to start a brand new genre of TV, lifestyle shows that would be based around looking at people's homes. And they had never done anything like this before on the BBC. At the same time, simultaneously, I had already started to photograph all the properties I'd been doing, and I had decided I wanted to do an interior design book. So that kind of happened simultaneously. While I was doing the book, I then pitched the book to 13 different literary agents, and 12 literary agents all came back saying they wanted to represent me. And I kind of thought, well, I think I'm on to something here. Maybe this will become a book. And then I went with one literary agent, and that literary agent then took the book to various publishers, and every single publisher wanted to publish the book. So then the book eventually came out, and it became a massive bestseller. I remember actually doing an event where I was in Birmingham in the UK, and I had to autograph all these books over a 5-day period, and I ended up autographing 23,000 books.
What? You did not? In one sitting?
In 5 days. And I ended up with repetitive strain syndrome. My arm ended up being in a sling afterwards.
You didn't get a wee stamp?
I realised afterwards I should have got a stamp, so you don't learn these things.
Wow, that's incredible.
But, going back to even on that first period of starting my the very first business with the property development at age 23.
Yeah.
I was so crazy busy, I didn't even have time to buy a desk.
What did you
I spent
do?
the first 2 years working on a coffee table. So I would have a coffee table, which was from IKEA, is really cheap coffee table, it was about 20 quid, and some cushions, and I would sit in the cushions and I would work on this coffee table. And I didn't have a fax machine. The local news agency, which was like a convenience store, I had to go to the convenience store to send faxes and receive faxes. And I remember actually saying to my husband, I want to buy a fax machine. And he goes, look, it's such a waste of money. What do we need a fax machine for?
Right.
And then, you know, eventually I was running back and forth all the time trying to pick up all these faxes of contracts for properties I was buying, like really important legal documents that I was trying to get from the local news agency. And eventually I went, no, I'm going to go and get a fax. And I just went and got it. And I thought, I never again am I asking for permission for anything in my business.
Yeah.
And because my husband didn't work in my business, but yet when I was at that young, naive stage, I felt that I needed to get my husband, my partner's, you know, permission for that, because it was a kind of a spend.
Yeah.
And it changed everything.
Fast forward, obviously, to the last 10 years or so. Obviously, that's an amazing story of the real estate and how you kind of, in a way, fell into that because of your car accident, and then found your way back out to full health and starting your own business, and you were just decorating your own flat, as we say, right, apartment, and basically through synchronicities, you had this opportunity presented to you, renovating and decorating and doing interior design, and then the book. Now then, if we can fast forward to like over the last 10 years or 12 years, you work with celebrities, like if we can name some, such as Beyonce, who, by the way, was just in concert in San Diego. I was flying back from Vegas the other day, and I sitting next to this adorable young 18-year-old, and I start talking about her Kate Spade purse, and I said, "Oh, what are you going to San Diego for?" She says, "Beyonce's on there. I'm going to see Beyonce." I'm like, "Oh." Ann works with Beyonce and Jay-Z and then several other household name celebrities whose name we might not be able to mention, but
most of them I'm under contract, so I can't say anything. But sometimes clients are open about the fact that I work with them, so they may, I might get interviewed for the New York Times, which is why the Beyonce Jay-Z piece is out there. That was a New York Times story, so that's in the public domain. When I've worked with people like Gwyneth Paltrow, that's in the public domain, so it's on YouTube. You can see YouTube videos of me working with Gwyneth and also with Tracy Anderson when I was doing some stuff with Tracy, and people like Michelle Bridges, who's an extremely well-known celebrity in Australia. So, I don't kind of disclose, because I am kind of their secret weapon.
Yes.
As I am for a lot of experts as well, not just celebrities. So a lot of experts, I sort of serve them and help them grow their brands and other clients as well. So if the client's open about it, then it's out there. But most people will come and work with me because they want to push their brand to a whole different level, and they want to have a different outcome from what they have at the moment, and I will help create that and re-engineer it. And that the reason that all happened again was kind of happened by chance, because when I eventually sold my business, now bear in mind that when I started my property business, I did that with money that I'd borrowed off a MasterCard. I didn't even have the finances to go and buy my first property. My first property, I kind of cheekily took a MasterCard that had a £5,000 limit, and every day I would take £250 out of the ATM until I had the £5,000 in cash, and then I walked into a bank and said, "I want a mortgage, please. Here's £5,000 as a deposit." And it's so not what you should do, but at 23, I didn't know any better. And that's the money that I used to buy that first property. So, looking back, the change has been incredible and the things I've gone through. But several times throughout my career, I have fallen into different areas that I've never set out to do. Opportunity has presented itself, And I've decided whether I want to go down that route or I don't. And then if I do go down that route, then I go for it.
Yeah.
Like a dog with a bone is
Wow.
how I am.
Okay.
So it's all about, I guess, people come to me because they know I've got all this incredible experience. I had my own brand of products, much like you would see with Martha Stewart. I had my own homeware line. It sold in all the retail stores and big box retailers and catalogs and so on. So I've had so many different kinds of business experiences that people come to me to grow their brands, and that's part of what I do.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. So I love what you're saying about a dog and a bone, because folks here, we are going to be very shortly drawing our name for our first prize winner, believe it or not. I'm going to give stuff away right away. Please do go ahead and share for more chances to win the prizes we have that we're giving away. Also a wonderful grand prize, and more you share on social. We've got our whole team here on standby, and then the studio and virtually around the country and the world watching the chat. And we're going to dive in a moment here to Ann's Sequential Success Method, which is what you've actually signed up for, so get ready for that. What I would like to do is just a perfect segue to actually go ahead and share just briefly how Ann and I met and the impact she's had on my business. And then I believe we're actually going to be bringing in a guest from Down Under live, another client of Ann's that's worked with her closely, and to share some of the results of that. So Ann and I first met in 2008 through a mutual friend that she was a client of yours, a friend of mine for many years in the internet marketing space. And of course, being a fellow Scot, and I immediately resonated with your style. You were so personable. You're highly, highly accomplished, obviously, and just very, very personable and fun. And this person was interviewing you on stage, and you were talking about a business that you had recently sold, and you said the amount in your wonderful Scottish accent, 975 million. And I'm like, what? What? Who is this lady? I need to get to know her. I want to work with her. And I set myself a goal that I wanted to get to know you and see how I could possibly retain your services. And I must say, it was really fascinating, because what happened, folks, is that at that event, Ann was actually the last person to leave the room. People were asking her questions for a long time. She was so generous and really helping them. And I could really tell that not only were you very smart, but you also had a heart. And that's something that's super important to me, to really genuinely care about people. And so, however, as we said, probably some people might have caught it in the pre-roll, but actually it took me 4 years. It was 2012 by the time actually it was late 2011.
Yep.
And we'll share a little bit more about this story later, but basically it was back in the day when I used to wear nothing but turquoise. And it was everything.
And I changed that quickly.
Oh, my jewelry, my phone cover, my luggage. I'd go through the airport and they're like, whoa, that lady sure likes turquoise. And so Ann and I started work together late 2011, and I invested multiple six figures, which I actually made back within the first 6 weeks of working with Ann and her team. And we're going to share with you in a crazy affordable way that you can get the benefit of Ann's expertise with your business. So we're actually, so the winner is going to be coming up in a moment. You're going to announce it in chat. I'm just looking at my notes here from our show producer here. Outstanding. Let's dive right in, Ann, for your first piece of the sequential success.
So the method that I use to actually grow my businesses and also yours, Mari,
Yes.
and for all my clients, is what I call my sequential success method. Now, I didn't know it was going to be called a sequential success method. I didn't know that's what I was doing when I started out, but there is definitely a sequence and a pattern to how I have created huge success in my own business and for other clients. And then I actually gave it a name, because it's a sequential, it's a method and a format that I do things in. And I do believe that that is quite different from the way a lot of other business owners work and craft within their businesses. So the amount of time I spend immersing myself in something, analyzing something, looking at the marketplace, looking at the hungry audience, looking at how you can sell, what level, price points, all of that stuff. I spend a great deal of time absorbing all those things before I then dive into, okay, now we're ready to unwrap the covers here and actually start to grow the business. And I think the massive difference for probably the majority of you watching this is that you will have dived in quite quickly to doing your business. And then you sort of feel like, okay, now I'm in business, I better get on with it. And I'm a great believer that you need to kind of assess the playing field properly, every part of that, before you'll actually dive in properly. And to give you a little insight on how long sometimes I will spend doing something, and there are more extreme versions of this. So this is probably my most extreme version. I knew that I wanted to get product into Walmart. Walmart's the biggest retailer in the world, so if I'm going to do that, I'm going to understand Walmart inside out, back to front, you name it. I'm going to know Walmart as well as the staff. I'm going to know Walmart as well as the CEO.
Wow.
And that's
a big challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but that's what I set myself to do, so that when I would then approach them, I would know so much about them as a retailer that I would be talking their language, I would understand how something would be sold. I spent 4 years studying Walmart before I actually approached them. That's probably the longest time I've spent doing something. Whereas other times it will be a shorter immersion period. It can be a 3-week period, a 4-week period, and then you sort of move on to actually building out the business. But there is a sequence to how you do this, and you can take that same sequence and move that from business to business to business. I've got clients who work across all different industries. So as well as my celebrity clients and a lot of experts that many of you will follow and know, I also have clients who work in things like they have mortgage companies, or they have oil rigs, or they have insurance companies, and things that they're just very driven entrepreneurs running very successful businesses. And each time I can take that same sequential success method and use that formula to grow their business, as I have done with my own.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that. So the immersion part of really making sure that you understand, that you've set yourself a goal, and I love what you said there, Ann, about speaking the language of being known exactly. You set your sights on something and being able to go in there very confidently. So I believe, did we have that winner? I thought I saw a winner's name there. Yes, how exciting. So we have a little drum roll here, a studio drum roll. The first winner of our $250 Amazon gift voucher, which we encourage you to obviously purchase something that would really support your business, perhaps a Kindle or a camera or some books, and that is Terry Monahan. Terry Monahan, congratulations. The whole studio's cheering for you, everybody around the world. Yay!
And actually, I know Terry.
You do!
Because Terry was one of the groups. I ran a special program back in 2010, 2011, where I took a select group of small business owners, and under a partial scholarship program, they still had to invest $10,000 for a year, but I taught them as a group for a year. And when I announced I was going to do this originally, I announced it in one tweet, literally put out one tweet. I
love this story.
And I got 3,000 applications from one tweet, and we only had like 15 or 20 spaces. That was it. And Terry was one of the people who got a space.
Cool.
And also then I enjoyed working with this small business owner group so much. Originally, I was only going to do it for 10 months. And I thought, I can invest 10 months of my time, I can change some lives here. But ultimately, I loved the group so much, and I still love everybody that was in that group. I ended up doing it for 3 years.
Wow.
And then, unfortunately, because of ill health in my family, my mom was extremely unwell, I kind of had to stop working with them. And in a way, that's why we're sitting here.
Yes,
because
yes.
I realized that the information that this fantastic group of 20-odd people had and were getting from me was something that I needed to share with a much, much bigger group of people, because I've had 3 decades of business experience. And unlike an awful lot of other people who are in business, my business experience is across the board in so many different channels, because I've had so many businesses myself in different areas, and then I've guided so many people. So often you may be following an expert who has an expertise in a particular area, and they've done well and successful for that, and therefore you follow them and you listen to their insights. And I think that's brilliant, because there are some really great experts out there, Mari being one of those experts.
Thank you.
What a lot of experts don't have, though, if they're trying to teach you general entrepreneurship and general success in business, is that they don't necessarily have all the experience of having worked and built out businesses in so many different stratospheres that I have. And I'm really genuinely not aware of anybody out there who is guiding other business owners with the level of experience I have and the caliber of know-how. So I think it's quite different.
It's extraordinary. And folks, on that note, something really exciting for you. So we are taking your questions live. Of course, we are absolutely live right now. This is not a faux live show. It is 1:30 p.m. Pacific time right now. Calculate that in your time zone. And we are live right now. And if you are watching this on sequentialsuccess.com/live, whether you're on your mobile device, desktop, notebook, and you'll see the Facebook comments below. We have a whole team. Shout out to Christopher and Tracy and Lars and Juan and Anna and Jessica and Jamie. You guys are awesome. Thank you for helping to interact with the community. Feel free to ask your questions, my friends. So tell us what business you're in, and go ahead and ask, what is your number one question? Because we have plenty of time here today that Anna and I will actually be taking your questions live. And we would love to be able to support you and give you some value directly for you and your business. So feel free to do that. Of course, we've got several more prizes to go, a couple more Amazon gift certificates, as well as a grand prize, okay? And then so go ahead, like I say, tell us your top question, and just checking my notes here, we're good. Share across all of the social channels, hashtag #SSWebcast. With that, Ann, I would love to hear from you. What would you say is a tip for our viewers right now, small and medium-sized business owners across the whole nation, across the world really? What is a tip that they could actually do right now to boost their profits right now this week?
Okay, it's a good question. And it's probably one of the most commonly asked questions, but yet people don't know a very simple answer that can change everything. The way that you make more money is you've got to generate more revenue. And the way that you can generate more revenue is more sales. So if you aren't putting lots of focus into sales, you're not going to up your outcomes. Your outcomes are just not going to improve. So the number one thing I would say to you this week is you have to increase your frequency of your sales method. Now that may be that, say you're a consultant, that you maybe do cold calls to 4 or 5 people a week. You should be doing like 4 or 5 calls a day. Imagine if you increase that frequency, how much more you're going to sell. If you sell a product, then maybe it's looking at how you package that product so that you double the amount of product you sell. We're surrounded every day when we go into retail spaces by looking at how retailers can sell things and sell more of them. Frequency is one of the most important pieces, and the other part of that is to actually just look at how you can double sales. You know, can you sell more of one thing? So I would say to you, if your business is set up and you've got your marketing in hand and your social media and all that stuff is already happening, what you should do this week as a test is spend 80% of your time focused on selling. That's it. 80% of your time. You will increase your revenue. So that is an easy thing to do, and it will be different for each person that's listening and watching this as to what they have to do to increase that sales. But think in your head, look, you can't have more money in your bank balance if you're not doing something about making that happen. There is a direct correlation between your actions and what's in your bank balance. And a lot of people don't want to talk about how important the money factor is to business, but business is all about money. That's how you judge how well a business is doing. What you do with the money afterwards is entirely up to you and how you want to run your life and your freedom and your lifestyle. But I only focus on business. The business part is fully about you generating income. And that's the quickest way to do it, is to focus on sales this week. So make it your 80-20, 20% other stuff, 80% sales this week, and you will change outcomes.
That's really awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I was just thinking here about when you and I first started to work together in December of 2011. And it's really interesting, folks, because, you know, since the early 2000s, okay, so I've been involved in the world of internet marketing. I wrote my own first email marketing product in 2003 about how to write emails that get opened. I've studied
That was really early
copywriting.
days. That was really early days.
I built my first website in 1998. I came to San Diego in 1999 with 50 British pounds, a suitcase, and I knew one person. And I bartered my immigration attorney. I built my website in exchange for the immigration attorney fees. Like you, I mean, I was just very determined, right? I talk about that dog with the bone. And so here's the thing that I've, you know, very much a self-made businesswoman. I'm an overnight success, 10 years in the making, as I joke. And I was very fortunate to get involved with Facebook in 2007 and do a lot of internet marketing and then Facebook marketing, social media marketing. Really fell in love with Facebook. And then when I started working with you, Ann, in 2011, I had actually reached a bit of a plateau. I was doing extremely well, doing the international speaking engagements, making products and programs and trainings and consulting. And then I reached a place where I built my personality-based brand. Now, I get asked this question quite a bit. My brand, Mari Smith International Inc., marismith.com, and people really wanted me and wanted me to speak and train and lead, which I love doing. But then it gets to the point, well, how do you scale that?
Yep.
So what was one of the first things that we looked at doing?
Well, I remember I was shocked that you were literally doing everything. You know, your fingers were in every pie, and I was like, oh my God, like how you can't grow a business that way. Even if you are the face of the brand, you cannot do that. And even if you want to remain a solopreneur, and this is a really important point. If you're a solopreneur, that does not mean you work on your own doing everything.
Right.
Okay. What a solopreneur is that you've chosen to kind of be a standalone entity. But to be that standalone entity, you still need a support network around you to make it happen. You need to create the people who are there doing things for you that you probably outsource to. So they may not be employees that come into your home, or they may not be people that are on an ongoing wage and salary, but you have to have people that you actually outsource to. So even though you were outsourcing quite a bit and you had a small team, Mari still had that crucial mistake of thinking that you had to kind of be involved in it all. And I think that, to me, is probably the number one mistake that all business owners make. And I do see this not just with small business owners, I see it with mid-size and even with some big ones. And even when I work with some Hollywood celebrities, I find that sometimes they're doing things that I'm kind of going, why are you doing this? Shouldn't somebody else be doing this for you, so that your time is spent on the most critical and important pieces? So delegation is the number one thing that you have to change in your business to get a changed outcome. And you might go, look, I just don't have the funds to delegate. Look, you have to start somewhere. Even if you start delegating out 2 or 3 hours of work, or you do something else and get somebody else to come in and clean your home, or you get somebody to go and walk your dog so that you can do whatever it is you have to do, you have to see money generation as the main and most important piece of the pie, and make sure that you're doing the things that are going to take the income into your business, as opposed to making the business run. So it goes back to lots of people will be very familiar with Michael Gerber and his book about not working, the E-Myth, which is it's actually a really great book. And a lot of people who are starting out in business will often say to me, what book should I read? And I'll say, go and read the E-Myth. It's like a fantastic starting book. Don't work in your business, work on your business. And still, people at all different levels forget that. And quite often, even when they do delegate, and they are quite good at delegating, there's still another level of delegation sometimes they're missing.
Yeah, exactly. Hey folks, do you remember to pop your questions? Deborah, are we getting some questions? Are we getting questions? Yes? No? Not yet. Okay, don't be shy, folks. Feel free to ask your questions. I know, they probably are. Okay, so we are streaming live on that page, aren't we? Are we doing okay? Yeah? All right. Well, we can keep the show must go on. I know that we've got people in there. Don't be shy,
We're not
folks.
that scary. We can actually answer questions.
Yeah. So, okay, very good. Very good. So you can definitely tune in and, okay, great, watching the notes there. Back to this part about delegation, because I remember when Ann, you and I were talking, it was basically my tweets.
Yeah.
You said to me, you are not finding all the content for your tweets, huh? And truth be told, I was, and I'll tell you why, and people could probably relate to this.
Yeah.
I am so rigorous about my voice, about not delegating my voice. And I would say to people, there's no ghost writers, no ghost tweeters, no nothing. If you see me talking in first person anywhere on social media, it is me. You won't be suddenly having a conversation with someone and realizing, it's not me. And that happened to me one time. I remember being at a high-end event one time, and I go up to this very, very well-known leader, and I said, I just love interacting with you on Twitter. You just do a really great job, and it's fun. And his face just kind of fell, and he's like, Mari's like, I don't even know how to log into Twitter. That's the girl in my office. She does a great job being me, doesn't she? I just had this knot in my stomach. I'm like, oh, God, that's never happening to me. But then I reached the point, like you said, where it's like, I'm just doing too much. So I found a wonderful way that I actually documented the precise steps that I take to curate the exact content that I want to be able to share through my social channels. And I created a training manual that was then able to hire a person to come in, and I outsource that now, and I always check the content. It doesn't just go out without my blessing, if you will, or my authority. And that's literally saved me on some days, like as much as 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
I would be trawling the internet.
And imagine how many hours that is in a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal. You can waste so much time doing something that somebody else can do in your behalf. And as long as you sort of fact check all that stuff before it goes out, you're freeing yourself up to actually focus on the real stuff.
Yeah, very good. Let's say where we're going to go to the next piece from the sequential success. Very good. Yes. What is the next piece, the next step in your sequential success method? We've talked about the critical part of delegating and obviously setting that foundation and doing your research. What else? What's the next distinction?
The next distinction, I think, is just the level of time you spend before you actually go and build something or launch something. So for most people, they'll actually race ahead trying to make that happen. Whereas I believe what you should do is you should actually make sure the lay of the land, what I call it is actually the top topography. So as if you're looking down like a helicopter at what you want to do, you've got to assess all that. You've got to make the right kind of plan, the right kind of map of where you want to go, and then making sure that you're actually positioned for the best possible chance. Lots of people talk about, fail often, fail fast, and move on. And yes, if you have a failure, you do want to kind of dust yourself down very quickly and move on fast. However, you've got to actually want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for failure from the start. And the best way to do that, because doing that is very timely, very costly. What you have to do is make sure that you're set up for the maximum possible chance of success. And the way to do that is to make sure that all the sequence that's involved in my sequential success, you undertake before you actually get to the point where you're ready to launch either an entire business or a product or a service. So it doesn't matter whether it's a whole project you're doing, like you're literally launching a business from scratch, or you're taking something within your business and you actually want to launch that piece. Whatever way you're going to do it and whatever is relevant to you, there is a format to doing that so that you come out with the best possible results, and it costs you the least amount of chances of having it wrong and it failing.
Now, the number one reason you said that people fail is
Well, delegation is massive part of it.
Yeah.
Because you can you if you don't delegate, what happens is you own a business that's a job.
Yeah.
And even if you are that solopreneur and you want to remain that solopreneur and you want that freedom of working from home and all those things, it's still not you on your own. There will be occasional people who are kind of like totally solopreneurs and don't. So you might be something like a journalist, and only you as the writer can write that piece for that magazine. Mm-hmm. But then if you're smart and you want to write more articles, then you should be outsourcing your accountancy and pitching for more work and all those other pieces as well, so that you as a writer remain doing the writing.
One of the things that, as you know, and we put that on the Sequential Success sign-up page that people could join this live webcast, that my team and I, in 2012, when you and I worked very closely together, and you made a significant impact in my business, as I mentioned earlier, and recouped my annual investment within the first 6 weeks, which was extraordinary. And to the point where my team and I literally developed an acronym in our company. We call it WWAD, and that stands for What Would Ann Do? So there's something magical about being able to work with someone who has created billion-dollar businesses, who works with celebrities, and now definitely over the years a lot of small business owners, and I know you have different partial scholarship programs and things like that. And what I found, one of the biggest impacts that you would help me stretch my thinking. Like I'd reached that plateau level of business like I talked about, and your vision for me was so grand. And then, but even taking me to that grand vision, I found that I exponentially was able to expand my own thinking and build a much bigger business for our vision for my own business. So what would you say in your 3 decades of experience of working and doing business, what makes you unique? What is the unique factor about working with that WWAD?
I didn't even know that you had an acronym until recently, which it made me laugh. Which is really, it's very very flattering to know I have my own acronym. I think the number one thing really is that there is a difference between kind of having a big dream and having a vision that has a goal attached to it. Now, people often talk about having a vision and goal attached, but the vision has to be set in reality as well. So when I work with you, Mari, the vision I had for you is a vision that is tied into who you are as a personality, what your foundations of what it is you teach and what your expertise is, but looking at how that could be amplified out into a much bigger area and marketplace for this almost the same amount of effort.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes people aren't ready. I have had, probably in the 11 years I've been guiding experts and clients, I've had a couple of occasions where I've brought somebody a long way down the road of the big vision, and they've wanted to have that big vision. They may have even given the vision to me and say, look, this is what I want to do. I then work with them and make that more into a proper cemented idea and story, and then we start to build the business out from there. I have had at least twice clients where we've gone a long way down the road and I've brought them everything that they wanted to have happen, and we've lined everything up, and then they've run scared. So they've got scared of the next level of success. And that can be something that affects a lot of people, that they're scared that what's going to happen if they suddenly are richer, or they're making more money, or their business is more successful, or they have the dream that they've always wanted. What happens when you attain that dream? I find there's a level of what I call hurdle building. And if anybody's watching this who has been part of my small business scholarship group, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about here, because sometimes we'd be sitting around a boardroom table doing a 2-day workshop either in LA in California, or we'd be doing it in New York, and I'd be talking them through a process for one of their projects, and suddenly I would start to hear the if and the buts and the maybes and the what ifs, and I'd be going like, guys, you are the best carpenters I've ever seen in this room, because you build the most phenomenal hurdles that don't exist. And I find that a lot of people, they have the vision and they have the dream, that's kind of there, but to actually take themselves from point A, which is having the dream, and then you got the vision of where you want to go with it, to actually making that happen, there'll be so many hurdles put in front that they're doing themselves. There's a self-sabotage comes in. So we hear about self-sabotage for all sorts of things like dieting or, weight issues and all sorts of other areas. But in business, it happens almost every day as well. Business owners self-sabotage themselves. They know that maybe they should be making those sales calls, but instead they're checking Facebook, or they're meant to go and really push or pitch for a new client or a new project, but they've gone and done X thing instead. So self-sabotage is a big piece of this as well, is recognizing your self-sabotage, stopping yourself, and making sure that you position yourself for what you deserve, which is the actual goal and dream.
This is really fascinating, and we could probably go down a whole other tangent. I'm just going to say this real quick, that I would say that essentially our lives, but certainly our businesses and our bank accounts, are a reflection of our consciousness and our collective beliefs about ourselves. And so you're absolutely right. What you're saying is that we will take ourselves so far and then go, whoa, that's scary. I don't know if I can go that far. And whether it is, a certain vision or dream for your business, your finances, or like you say, weight loss. It's like if someone has a lot of weight to lose, they might not know who they're going to be as that new person. And it really does take that whole other level of commitment to be a transformed person, whether it's in business or personal. And speaking of which, I know that on one of those little short videos you recorded from my audience recently, you were talking about this magic approach that you have, Ann, that literally has you accomplish in 3 months what it takes typically people a year to accomplish. What is your secret around that?
Well, I don't know if this comes from me having had a car accident where I spent almost a year lying flat on my back, but I believe that you can accomplish in 3 months what your average person does in a year. And really, when you certainly when you come to the end of a year and you're about to embark on the next year, we all start to plan out, I want to try and do this and this and this. And so many of those things never happen. And the reason a lot of it doesn't happen is the sheer length of time involved, the 12 months that are involved. A lot happens in that time where you think, okay, I haven't got to that thing in March, but I'll do it in May. Or I'm not going to do that in May, I'll push that out to September or October. And before you know it, the entire year's gone and you haven't actually done what you set out to do. So I've got a method of doing stuff as part of my sequential success, which is I actually condense things into 3 months, 12 weeks. In 12 weeks, you can achieve what almost your average business owner would do in a year or more. I would say I probably achieve more in a year. So in the length of time I've been in business, it's actually almost 4 times that in a way. So I've been working in business 30 odd years. You can multiply that. We're actually looking at almost like 120 years of insights here because of how much I've input into that time frame. And when we set out to do something in my team, this is when I'm doing my own businesses and building something out, we work on 12-week time frames to do things. And I want outcomes within those 12 weeks. And I am so persistent in making that happen. And my team who've worked with me for a long while know my persistency and also know the speed that I like to work at. So the 12-week process does not include the immersion. The immersion piece is before that. And in my sequential success method, that immersion I would normally leave at least 3 weeks to do. Then the actual process of the build out and the making things happen, that is a 12-week process. And that is like really, really, really focused time to make something happen. So maybe you've got a concept, an idea, or something you're trying to do right now. And I'm sure you can all think of what that thing would be. And you're probably thinking, I want to try and do that this year. So it might be I want to author a book, I want to get my first speaking engagement, I want to make sure I secure 25 new clients, or I want to launch an entire new product offering. And you're probably thinking of that in quite long-term pieces. Now, if you take all of that and extract it right the way back and condense it into a 12-week time frame from today, and if you were to map that out, I bet you most of you would actually achieve it in a 12-week time frame. And it's like a muscle. You know, we hear about if you use muscles in your body, you know, you can build them out or you can refine them and you can sculpt your shape. You can actually sculpt how your brain thinks and how you move and how you interact in business with the speed at which you do things. And the more that you do it, the more that you'll actually find that you can actually achieve those results. And like anything, once you achieve it, then you keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it and proving to yourself that it's actually possible. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the mind is a great thing. The brain is so flexible and plastic that you can actually have a massive impact on how you undertake business by changing your entire methodology of how you do it. So I teach this method to my clients I work with Mari. I worked with that where we sped things up and made things happen quicker. And then you get more done. So what would normally you would look at as being a 4-year plan, suddenly you'll get all those things done in a year.
Definitely, yes. Well, and I continue to use your methodologies in my business, that is for sure. And I definitely have a profound, lasting impact on working with you and your team and the different methodologies. Speaking of which, we actually have waiting in the wings a wonderful guest who is also a client of yours. Yep. And Danielle is actually an award-winning entrepreneur and applied Ann's methods to become very, very successful. I love her story. We had a quick rehearsal with her last night, and we are going to bring her on live by Skype all the way from, where does she live in Australia?
She's in Sydney in Australia.
Sydney, Australia, which is where Ann is based
And
too.
maybe just before Danielle pops on, if I can give a little bit of insight to this, where you've heard me talking about, I had a scholarship group of people that applied for this thing where 3,000 applicants with one tweet. Well, Danielle was one of those people. And what's interesting with Danielle, and she can share this with you in more detail, Danielle, first of all, was one of my scholarship group. And now Danielle is actually somebody that I work with to work on my one-on-one clients. So she's moved from being somebody that I've taught to somebody that actually now use as part of my external team to sometimes come in and assist on particular client projects. So her growth has been phenomenal, and I'm sure that she'll want to share some of those insights.
I'm excited. It's going to be awesome. So Danielle, is she there? I think we see her. Hey,
hi.
Good morning, because
we miss you in Sydney, Ann.
It's very early in the morning in Sydney, I know that.
I am wearing my Ugg boots at the bottom of my suit.
In true Australian style.
That's awesome. Well, welcome, welcome. We're happy to have you here with us. It's really lovely to meet you. And hey, I checked you out on Twitter and your website. I know you were recently teaching with the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, I had a meeting with him last year, a one-on-one meeting. It was fantastic. Actually, it's a funny story. I went in, I only found out like 10 p.m. the night before that I was going to have a meeting with him, like 9 a.m. the next morning. And he was a good 5-hour drive away. So I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to drive to meet him at the convention center. And I went in quite unconscious about what I was going to say or do. Like, you know, I kind of was in the moment a little bit, I guess, as you would be in Dalai Lama's presence. And I knew that when he first meets people, he says, "Who are you?" And I was so unconscious about what what my purpose was going to be, that my answer to him was, like, I looked back at security and said, "No, I'm Danielle, I'm allowed to be back here." And that was my answer of who I was. And he said, he grabbed my hand, he was like, "No, I know that. I know you're allowed to be here, but who are you?" And instantly I stopped and went, "Oh my goodness, what would Ann do?" And that's when I showed up and really stepped into that and recovered myself, because that's a terrible answer of who I am, is that I'm allowed back here.
That's awesome. That's cute, Danielle. I love it. Well, please do share with us the story of how you met Ann, and particularly what you were doing beforehand. Okay, kind of like a snapshot of where you were before Ann, what happened to encourage you to obviously work with her, and the impact that that had on your life and your business.
Yeah, so I worked 14 years in finance. I was in investment banking for a long time. After the GFC, I realised that I think that there was something more that I could do in the world. And so I quit, to be honest. I just quit and was like, I'll figure it out. I'm awesome in my job, so I'll be awesome in business. And anyone that's left corporate knows that that's not the case. It's not the same. It's not the same bucket. And so for a few years, I was kind of just hanging about and pretending that I was doing business, but really I was just watching Oprah and Dr. Phil every day. And I was following a stack of really awesome, what I thought online, entrepreneurs online. Now I'm not online per se. I lecture at a university here in Australia. I also, 90% of my business is keynote speaking. So, but I was watching these online entrepreneurs in the US going, okay, well, they're doing well and I like their mindset. But this one woman that I was watching for a long time and following her philosophies, there was something there that I loved, but there was a lot there that I didn't love. And I didn't know what that was, but I did know that I needed some sort of guidance that was bigger than myself. And so I contacted a friend that was also following this same woman and said to her, I was thinking of signing up for some of her programs. Have you worked with her? And she said, go to the real deal. There's a woman behind this woman, and that's who you want to be with. And she said, and the woman is Ann McKevitt. And I was like, oh what? And Ann what? And I had no idea who Ann was. I'd never heard of her. She was obviously behind the scenes. She said, look, she's got a scholarship program. It's closing tomorrow morning, so apply. So I did. I just kind of trusted her, and I did. And I got in, and it was a line in the sand in my business and my life.
And actually, one of the reasons that Danielle got in, because we did have 3,000 applications, was that she actually got her application in late.
Oh.
But was very forceful in trying to get that position. And I actually said to my team after all the close of the applications had come in, and I sort of said, is there anybody else that's still trying to get in? And they said, well, there's 2 or 3 other people who are too late, but they're trying to be forceful in getting in. And I said, so who are these? And I sort of looked at them, and Danielle was being so forceful. I thought, well, if you're that forceful, then you're really hungry and you want to make a difference, and you'll probably give it your all. So sometimes I will judge things and judge people on how pushy they're going to be to make something happen, because that's what you actually need in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, Danielle. So go ahead and tell us, obviously, this application. I love that you saw something earlier. We were talking about Ann being a dog on a bone, or like, no, excuse me, not you. That's just a metaphor.
Now it's all coming out.
But I just, essentially, like I said, I just knew that I needed something that was bigger than myself. And although I was following these people, when I found out pretty much that all the people that I'd been following online, there was someone sitting behind them all that was the real deal. I kind of just trusted it and went with it. I didn't have, I heard that you're sharing before that it was a part scholarship, so it still cost $10,000. I didn't have $10,000. I was still in like my first couple of years where I'd only made like $400 that first year. But there was just something in me that I just knew that this was what I was kind of looking for. And I kind of just threw myself off this cliff into it. And like I said, it was a line in the sand. It still took me a little while to really get the message.
So
if
Danielle, I can interrupt, if I can interrupt just so that the audience understand that. So you gave up working in finance, but then that first year, remind me, you'd only made $400 in a whole year, is that correct?
Wow.
Yeah, $400 in the entire year. The second year, I think I made like $2,000. So that's quite a big jump, but it's a big dip from where I was in investment banking.
No, and then the other thing was, and I didn't know this at the time, but when you applied, you didn't have $10,000, did you? Because you had no money left.
No,
so talk about how you took that leap as well.
Yeah, when I left finance, I didn't have savings. So you might be thinking, oh, good, she was an investment banker, she was all right. No, like when I made $400 that first year, I had $400 for that year. And then when I came across Ann and started looking into it, I had to find that $10,000. And, that was, disappointingly through my partner in a bank loan. But I just knew that this was something that I needed. When I was explaining to, the people around me who, what I was about to go into, I was explaining who Ann McKevitt was, and they started to think I was like crazy, because the more and more you talk about who Ann is and her achievements in life, you start to think that it's a made-up person. And because no one else had kind of come across Ann within my corporate network, yeah, people were starting to think that, oh, that's cute, she's like lost a brain a little bit. But you go ahead with this, like with this woman, and good luck with that. So yeah, it was a big leap of faith, but I just knew that there was something there with everything that I saw, that it was the information that I'd been looking for, because it was real.
And Danielle, weren't you sharing with us in the rehearsals last night? I really resonated with your story about how you had a physical challenge. Yeah,
for 20 years I had a condition where some days I couldn't get out of bed. It was a immune sort of situation. It's complicated to explain. Pretty much since I was 15, it'd be hard for me to do a whole day's work with energy. Some days it would be like there would be gravity up against, my head. And, it was hard to get out of bed some days, and that was still the case. And essentially that has taken me to the last... It probably wasn't only solved until about a year ago, to be honest. There was, this whole time that I was really trying to push as, to start my own business and really create something, working with Ann, all that sort of stuff. But then when you can't get out of bed some days, it's tough to really step up into what you know that you can be doing in your life. And so to have someone like Ann that was on your side, even in those dark days, was really tough. And I think I said this yesterday, that although I really wanted great things in my life, I was quite idealistic about how to go about doing them. But even though Ann would get very frustrated with me, there was so much compassion behind speaking with me when she knew that I was unwell, and just making sure that when I was able to step up, that I did. It got to the point essentially that I... my life, like, it looked so great on the outside, but I'd hit rock bottom. I had no finances. I was in big debt. I couldn't get out of bed some days because I was just so sick, so unwell and tired. I lost everything. I lost, I couldn't show up to lecture at uni. I couldn't show up for my keynotes. Everything was gone. I couldn't... Something was wrong, and no one understood what this health condition was. And it was really only like phone calls that I would have every now and again with Ann that would allow me to do that. It was about a year ago now, or 14 months ago, that I did kind of hit rock bottom and keep digging. And that was when everything stopped for me. And it was only then that I realized that it's only me that can kind of turn that around. And that's when I started to pull out all my notes from the training and coaching program that I did with Ann, and started to reread them and re-highlight them and start to take action. So although I had the greatest advisor, I think, in the world that you could possibly have, it wasn't until that I put these things into actions that things really turned around. And that was tough. Like, I lost everything. I had everything in my business. I lost everything in my personal life, almost. I was planning a wedding that got cancelled because, when you can't do much else, you can't really plan a wedding. That's not really the priority. And I haven't really kind of shared this, but the other week I was in San Francisco for meetings up in Silicon Valley, and my partner came over because it was the day that we were meant to get married. Like, this is about 2 weeks ago. And so we went out to my favorite Italian restaurant in San Fran, and we celebrated what would have been, to be honest, a really horrible day, because if I hadn't turned myself around with Ann's advice sort of like that year ago, I wouldn't be where I am today at all. Not even a second. And we celebrated the fact that, that we weren't getting married that day, but we were where, And I think that that's the greatest thing that someone can have. And so I always say that even though Ann was my business coach, you can't learn things in business and that not transpire into your own life. No way.
That's a really good point, Danielle, and I know exactly what you mean, being a client of Ann's as well, because it's very holistic. You know, who you are in business is who you are in life. It's not like you kind of switch roles. What was it, if you could really share with our audience here today, what was it that shifted? I know you said you hit bottom and you were going back through your notes and then really taking the action, obviously. What was it that really fundamentally shifted when your life began to change and you went from, you know, where you are at that bottom part and starting to really create the success and on to win awards and everything?
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. Like I was still doing okay. I still had, my segments on a national morning TV show every week. Like on the outside, everything looked great, but I knew on the inside something was wrong. And I think it's only when you're really honest with yourself that something has to change. And I knew that I had someone by my side that was giving me the best information that I could ever get, and that I didn't need to keep searching for that, you know, that new silver spoon that so many of us creatives kind of do. Like we go, oh no, we want that, or look at this new shiny thing. And I knew that I had it already. It was at that point where I knew that there was nothing that else could be done. I didn't need to know any more information than what Ann had already given me. I just needed to put it into action. And because I took full accountability of where I was at and said, you know, I don't want to be here anymore because I don't know how long I will survive this way physically. And that's really scary. And it was when, I guess, taking accountability, but saying, okay, this is what I want to get out of my life. And then what realistically do I need to do to get that? And then you just show up and do it. And that's the greatest thing that I learned from Ann, I think, is that is realism, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I was very idealistic about what I wanted to do, and I had all these amazing ideas, and I didn't know, how I was going to get there. I was doing all the right things. I've had this calendar since the first day I went into business on my own, and for the first 3 years I used to draw like love hearts and inspirational quotes on there, and then after meeting Ann, I use it for actual business planning now. So that's just a tiny difference, but I think it's just the fact of stepping up into the life that you actually do want in your work and in your life, and building that efficacy and that self-confidence. But you have to do that with the right information, and I think that if I was with anyone else or even on my own, I wouldn't have been able to step up in the way that I have.
That's extraordinary.
Like, no way.
Yeah, and Danielle, I mean, it's extraordinary to go from like making $400 in 1 year to becoming an award-winning entrepreneur with Ann's help. I mean, that's really, it's really amazing. What would you say, I mean, like the big breakthrough, the moment that you were like, I know that you talk a lot about action, and even Ann has a distinction that inaction is action.
Yeah.
All right. Danielle, is that something that you learned, and can you share more about how that impacted your business?
And
Absolutely.
You've gone from $400 to six-figure income.
Yeah, multiple six-figure income, and I mean, it's not always just about that. For some people, it makes things easier and it helps delegate. But to be honest, the biggest thing that I kind of learnt was that inaction. Like I was doing so many inactions, and I remember one phone call with Ann. She said to me that I was a professional hurdle maker, where I don't know if you remember that, Ann, but you said that I was the best hurdle maker that you've ever come across, and that just means that I was putting up barriers for myself, making my own brick walls around me, making it really, really hard. And I remember getting off that call going, that's not the legacy that I want. That's not who I want to be. That's not what I want people to say about me when I'm not there. And so I stopped taking no action, because that's a terrible action to have. I was scared to step up. I've had conversations with Ann that I was scared about success. I didn't want, in Australia, we don't want to come across like, that you're up yourself or that you're talking yourself up. And I just sort of stopped thinking about that and just stepping up and being like, well, I'm doing all this for the right reasons for myself with really good intentions. And so I kind of need to stop all those stories. And they're all from those sort of lessons that I learned from Ann, and just being really realistic about what it is that you need to do to get what it is that you want. And then once you decide that, then you just need to show up and just do it. Like there's no other stories.
And also, I think there's an awful lot of information out there. There's a huge amount of information that people can tap into. But actually to have a really successful business, and I don't know if you agree with this, Danielle, it's actually about streamlining it, editing it down to the most fundamental pieces that are going to make you money and drive the business forward, and doing that in a sequence that works. And also it doesn't need to be, you know, complicated. It's actually sometimes making the business more simplistic is actually going to be the thing that drives you to have success. I mean, maybe you can share a little bit of what you think of that sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I would have, like, you know, 50 tabs open on my computer all the time. I had all these amazing ideas that I was going to do. And I think as a creative brain, you know, that's normal. But the fact that, you know, Anne really understood that and empathized with how you kind of turn a creative brain constructive and profitable is awesome. But yeah, absolutely. It's making things simple. And I call it being razor focused, or sometimes I call it like, AFR, I think I call it, or the other way, it's like Ann razor focus is what we call it. And it's just being so certain on what it is that you're out to get, and then being really, really simple on how to do it. And I didn't realize that was how much of I brought, you know, that into my business and life. Like, I knew that my processes and my systems and structure on how I ran my day had changed, but I didn't realize how much that had kind of floated into my personal life. You know, I said that I was really unwell. I was really sick. I did a fitness test and I could not run 400 meters. And like, I had to stop and I was out of breath and I actually couldn't go on. And so that was something that I also brought Anne's sort of philosophy into my personal life, and I changed it. And 3 months later, I ran 2 half marathons within 3 weeks of each other. And that's simply because turning things simple, like Anne does within the business structure, and saying, this is what I want to do. What do you have to do to get it? And go do it. Like, you don't stop and, you know, do this or do that, or go, what about doing X, Y, Z? That's a good idea too, because that's just a way of actually not taking action and procrastinating. And I'm an expert procrastinator. So the fact that if I can step up into these things, be using a planner properly and not drawing love hearts and inspiring thoughts, you know, that's a big saying. And it's the biggest thing I think that I've learned is, and I learned this in my MBA as well, in my Masters of Business at university, is that shorter is longer. And that's something that I've really learned, I guess, with my time with Anne, is when you try and take shortcuts, which I think is really natural to do, it actually takes longer in the end because there isn't any shortcuts. So when you have these big, awesome goals that you want for yourself and you try and do the short way around them, it takes so much longer, because we had this analogy that I kept slipping at the same point off the mountain, and I'd get back to the mountain, slip off again, and think, what's happening? And that was because I was just doing the same thing over and over again and lying to myself that I was. And it was only when I would see the difference in, I guess, like I always saw Anne like a mirror, that I would say, this is what I'm doing. And I could see that I was doing the same thing. It was only then that I said, okay, I need to repack this pack. I need to get a different, you know, climbing crew and battle this mountain differently. And that's the only way that I'm getting any close to the summit like I am today.
And you obviously did a huge investment in an MBA at university.
Yes.
How much did you spend on your MBA, and how good was that in comparison to the things that you learned by following my program?
The only reason I'm smiling is because I lecture at this same university. So, like, you know, alumni, like, I love you, but $70,000, and
wow.
I didn't learn anything. Like, you know, we had good cocktail parties and good business networking and stuff like that, but I've gotten much better out of the old scholarship program that we did with Anne. We've still got, you know, I saw Terry run the first prize. That's so exciting. Terry was in our award, in our scholarship program, and we still have that Facebook group going, and we're still so supportive. And you know, people that sort of, I think, that come about to finding Anne and working with Anne, they're the people that you want around you. And I think that, you know, it's also that they're getting the same lessons that you are and developing and growing in their life, that they're going to become, you know, it's not just Anne that you get in, it's the people that are learning from Anne. And that's the information and people that you want around you. And even in my, you know, darkest, you know, heaviest days, I knew that I could, you know, tap into that group. And even if I didn't get to speak to them because we're all over in different parts of the world, I could just see what they were doing, and I could see the Anne in them, I guess. And I don't think any of us would dispute that. The other thing,
Danielle, if I can also get you to share a little bit that now that you've become successful and you've kind of moved out of that situation you're in, which was in a really bad place, earning $400 in a year and not being able to kind of function as a person, and now you are an award-winning entrepreneur, you're earning more than 6 figures and you're doing incredibly well. And I've now used you to come in and work with some of my one-on-one clients. Some of those are celebrities as well, where I've got you to come in and work on particular areas of the business with me to help get that better for them. Maybe you could share with the audience how that experience is when I am working with a one-on-one client, as I did with Mari, that you didn't see as part of the scholarship group, because that was also a group piece. But what's the takeaways for you when you see how I work with a one-on-one client, and how the audience that are watching this will be able to get these type of insights from me, an absolute fraction of the investment that my one-on-one clients make?
Well, when I was first introduced to who you were, I looked you up on the website and it was like $2 million or something outrageous to work with you for a year. And I was like, wait, what's this other girl, earning? What's this other woman earning that she can afford this? But then that's why the scholarship was so amazing. Then when I started working with you years later, so for years I was in a group with you, Ann, and the group and so forth, and it was always in that capacity. And then I got one-on-one time, and I remember the very first session that we did together, which was with one of the biggest celebrities that we have in Australia. And I was more excited about seeing how you worked with these celebrities one-on-one to see what we missed out on in the group, and what the difference was and so forth. But to be honest, the baseline of information and the structure and how you not control, it's the wrong word, but how you assisted their business was fundamentally the same. And that was the greatest thing I think that I have ever seen. And over all the years that we've been working together with these clients, it's that point that I think that I've really grown so much closer to your advice, is because that I know how consistent it is if you're dealing with a billion-dollar business, a multi-million-dollar business, or little old Danielle from Australia at $400 a year, that was so consistent with I guess Business 101 and Mindset 101, like how you go from where you are to where you want to be and just get it done. And it's so simple. And that's what I think was the greatest lesson that I've learned through all of these elements of working with you.
Brilliant. Beautifully said, Danielle. I absolutely love it. And I totally agree with you. Getting to basically where you are now to where you want to be and just getting it done. And that is exactly what Ann helps you to do, to just kick it up a notch. And basically when I started to work with Ann, I mean, she just did a really, really full-on assessment of where I was, where I wanted to be. I remember filling out pages and pages of assessment and just really getting clear on what was my life and business looking like, and where did I want to go? What did I want to have happen in my life and business? And Ann is incredible with strategy and mapping it out. And you know what? Actually mobilizing a team. And Ann, that was 4 years ago, and I still work with many of the same team members, become an integral part of my company and help me with creating videos and launches and products. And I speak all over the world. And I feel very, very fortunate to have had the impact of you and that WWAD. What would Ann do? So with that, let's shift for a moment here and find out how actually Ann works with celebrities. We've talked about household names, singers, actors, health and fitness professionals. It's quite extraordinary. And now you will actually have an opportunity, and you have a way that people can work with you at a fraction of what some of your one-on-one clients have paid because of our relationship. And the audience tuning in today is predominantly people who know me, as I've been talking about this wonderful webcast, and most of you know me already. And I've actually arranged with Ann to partially scholarship, actually hugely scholarship, a good portion of the training that you'll be able to do with Ann.
Well, what I wanted to do was actually share these insights. I've got 3 decades of information, and I had got to the point where I actually was beginning to feel really guilty that I'm not sharing this with a much wider audience. So I loved working with the scholarship group and fantastic people, and I wanted you to have the same kind of experience that they've had, and for you to be able to experience how to put sequential success into your business and how that will transform how you are in business and potentially your life as well, as it has for Mari and it has for Danielle and for countless other clients. So the sequential success method is something that you can now tap into by joining my online entrepreneurship program, which is called Total Business Transformation, Total Biz Transformation. And it's a 12-week module program of training, but it's actually 15 weeks in total, because the first part is actually doing the immersion. You're going to do the same immersion that I do with all my clients. And that immersion, over those 3 weeks, you will dig deep into your business. You'll follow all the strategy and forms that Mari filled in and that many of my other clients fill in. And you will figure out what is the things that you want, what you're doing, where you want to go. So that's the 3-week part that you do before you dive into the actual module content. Then when those 3 weeks are completed, as an entire group, everyone that's taking part in the program, we will all move forward together. Module by module will get unlocked and be released 1 week at a time. And we will go through those modules so that you get the teachings, you get the learnings, and then you start to implement. Now, I'm also very specific about how you do this, as I am pretty much specific about everything in business. So we will actually release the module content every Friday. Now, you would probably expect that to be happening on a Monday, okay? The reason I'm going to release the module content on a Friday is that I expect you, over the course of the 12 modules, to give up a portion of your weekends, okay? You're going to invest time for 12 weeks of your life to get a lifetime of better outcomes for your business. And over those 12 weekends, that's when I would like you to absorb the teachings and the content and the videos and audios and look at all the materials and really start to get your head around what it is we're going through on that specific week. So there will be a focus to every single week and a sequence to how we do this. So you'll start at the beginning and we will work our way through to the areas that each part of your business need improving and changing, so that eventually when you get to week 12, you're in a position where things should be an awful lot better than they were when you started out. And when you get the content on a Friday and you go through all that teaching, then what I want you to do is during the course of the working week, the Monday through to the following Friday, to start to actually use the things that you've learned and been taught. Now, if you don't have a working week that's a normal weekend and a week that the average person has, you can just switch that around to work with your schedule. But for most people, that's going to work best. So I do expect you to commit to this in the way that Danielle committed to actually trying to get into the scholarship program and then had a life-changing experience from it. I want you to commit your time. I don't want people thinking, well, I'll just sign up to this and see how it is. Full commitment. You have to give full commitment to this, knowing that if you do the work, you will get the results just as everybody else who has implemented my sequential success method have had. I want people to have success from this. I want this to become a massive movement whereby people learn all the correct foundational pieces for their business that will set them up for success. Now, lots of people, Mari, will have already invested in programs and courses and online schools and all sorts of things, okay? And I think many of those have fantastic teachings. I'm aware of a lot of those. Some of those people are actually potentially clients of mine where I'm helping them grow their brands. But what I want you to also know is often an expert in an area doesn't have that whole bandwidth experience of building out business in general. My sequential success method, being taught through Total Biz Transformation, is that I want to make sure your foundations are there, because most people's foundations in business are very shaky. at best, and often at worst, I say downright disastrous for potentially you and your family. Seriously, it can be something that you've got so wrong that all your time and investment and money may go down the toilet, and at worst case scenario, you lose almost everything, okay? I don't want you to be one of those people. I want you to have the success that you deserve and to grow your business. So the foundational piece is the thing that you all need. Now, whether you are either thinking about getting into business, you're a newbie to business, or that you've been in business for a few years, or in fact, you're actually quite established, this same information is relevant to you as it is for all my clients. It doesn't matter what business stage you're at, putting this into your entire way that you operate your business will change your outcomes. In fact, if you're just about thinking about starting in business, having this information will save you so much time and effort. For everybody else who's already in business, it's about changing some of those systems, those thinkings, those patterns that you have, so that the outcomes you get way bigger than anything you've had before. And your thinking and your vision change, and the stuff that you want to actually do within your business changes, and how you are as a business person, and even how you are at home. All the things that you can have, that you can want, and that you do want to achieve can be done by following the sequential success method if you put in the hard yards.
Beautiful. Okay, so we have a gold level program, and you're saying it's 12 weeks, but really it's actually 15 because you're giving them the full on 3 weeks of immersion, doing all that preparation and planning, the foundation, really getting clear on your business and what you want to achieve, and really immersing yourself, literally getting ready, giving up some of those weekends. Actually, we were talking about this the other day. It's not so much giving up, it's actually an investment. It's a commitment. It's an investment in yourself and your future to be able to actually leverage your revenue. Ann said it earlier at the beginning of the webcast about one of the things that you can do right away is to focus on revenue. Well, what if that's actually, I remember clearly when I first began to work with Ann, and then she says, I said to her, what's one of the first things we're going to do after this immersion? She says, well, Marty, we're just going to scoop up the first couple of million. And I'm like, sold. All right, let's do that. Let's do it. I'm up for it. What do I need to do? Where do I sign? What's next? Scooping up the first couple of million. Let's do this. And seriously, that's what it's like working with Ann, because she is so accomplished and she really knows what she's doing. Obviously, it's really fascinating too, Ann. It's not just, you know, the vast range of from small to medium to large business. It's licensing, it's franchising, it's, we were talking earlier about having a personality-based brand, and how do you leverage that? What's your exit strategy? Are you going to be building an empire that can then be sold? What's your vision? Do you want to have a laptop lifestyle? Do you want to eventually, quote, retire? I don't know that I'll ever retire in the traditional sense of it. Sorry, Mom, I know you're watching. But seriously, all right, so you got the gold level, which is unbelievable value. You're offering a half price special. This is an agreement with myself, a scholarship for my audience because of my long-term relationship with Ann, and because we're kindred spirits and we're Scots women, and we want to show that Scots people can be very generous, okay? That's a half price for a very, very limited time. Go ahead and take advantage of that. Gold level is only $1,000. You can even do, I believe we've got a couple payment options on that. You can split it into 3 payments. Guess what? We're offering an extraordinary guarantee as well, that if, for example, you might be, oh gosh, I don't know if this is really going to be worth my investment. Go ahead and put the $375 down, and then you have a period of time to decide if it's a fit for you, okay? Now, the really exciting thing is we actually have a platinum level as well. That, by the way, that's only for 350 people, the gold level, okay? So that's 15 weeks working with Ann in the group setting, and then there is, for only 50 people, is the platinum level, 30 people. 30 people. 30 people can come into the platinum level, and that's got some payments on it as well. well, for $1,300 down, you can go ahead and get your experience working directly with Ann in a super small group. Actually, you're going to have 4 small group coaching conversations with just 5 people in each group. I was counting up all the hours. You are giving them a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really extraordinary. And so here's the thing, that go ahead and just get committed to yourself right here and right now. Make a decision. Ann has a saying that she loves working with people that run like cheetahs. What was that thing you told me one time? You were running down London High Street with a contract in your hand or something, right?
It's a true story. I like people who are fast action players. So I was trying to buy a property ahead of other property developers. So I had picked this contract up from the lawyer who was acting on behalf of the sellers. And it was a Friday afternoon. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon. And those days, banks in London closed at 4 p.m. on a Friday. So I had to get this contract to my lawyer, and I also had to get to my bank to transfer money. And anybody who knows London, they'll know Oxford Street is a main street, a main thoroughfare that has all these taxis and buses going along it all the time, and just an absolute ton of people walking everywhere. So I ran the entire length of Oxford Street with this contract in my hand, got to my lawyer, couldn't even breathe at this point or say anything to her, just shoved it under her nose and went, and then I ran straight back out of her office and ran to the bank, got to the bank, I was like, and then I transferred the money there and then, because we couldn't do it electronically at that point because computing wasn't happening. So you really have to, if you want to make stuff happen, you've got to sometimes literally run. The other thing I want to point out, Mari, which you haven't said here, is this is a one-time only offer. I will never, ever, ever offer this price again. This scholarship offer that we're doing together here for your audience, Mari, it's never going to get repeated. It will never be at this investment level again. So if you want to make this investment, now's the time to grab it, because if you don't, you will lose out. And it's going to go fast, because only 350 people are going to get the gold level, and only 30 people will get the platinum level at this investment. So make sure that you jump on board and make it happen. And if you're sitting on the fence, as Mari said, you can join yourself up, sign up, and if you don't like it and you don't undertake you're doing the work and you still don't feel there's value in it, apart from the fact you're going to be a bit of an oddity, because I've never actually had that happen, but you can bail out if you want to, because I don't want to keep somebody on board who doesn't feel that they're getting value from it, because you will get the most tremendous value. You will change your business, and ultimately you will have the freedom that you want in your life on your terms.
Absolutely. Outstanding. Now then, we have even more for you. We have our next prize winner coming up. Stay tuned for that in just a second. We're going to reveal who it is. And also, because as you all know, they call me the Facebook Queen. I didn't make that name up. People call me the Facebook Queen, so I just kind of own that moniker. Why not? And so I call myself the premier Facebook marketing expert. And now obviously working directly with Facebook is pretty dang awesome. So guess what? Ann is going to be helping you obviously exponentially grow your business, get all the foundational pieces in place, really to manifest and realize the vision that you have for your business. What if you could also have support with your Facebook ads? It's the one thing that I hear over and over again, traveling around the country and the world. People are like frustrated with Facebook ads, finding it, investing money in there and not always getting a positive ROI. Well, I actually get typically an 8 times ROI on most all the ads that I place. And we actually work, my partner and I work with a number of different clients. We're working right now with a startup in the beauty industry. We just created a Facebook passion page with 50,000 fans in 5 weeks. How extraordinary is that? Imagine that if you had even just 10,000 more fans on your page, or your Twitter following, your Instagram, larger social followings. You know, Ann, it's interesting. I never used to say this. I'd say back in the day, years ago, like, I don't get all hung up on the numbers. It's not about the numbers. Focus on quality, and the quantity comes. I still say that. Quality, valuable content, sharing, adding value, engaging with your community. But ultimately, over time, you really do want to grow your audience. And now there is no place better than Facebook that lets you grow an audience of your exact target demographic, relate to them, provide provide them great value, provide them great offers. So for the first 20 people that go ahead and take advantage of Ann's extraordinary Total Business Transformation program, I'm actually going to include my Facebook ads fast track program only for 20 folks, where if you go ahead and join that Total Business Transformation, you will get to actually work with me to have you to be able to have me look at your Facebook ads, make some adjustments to them, answer your questions, help you to map out a much better Facebook ads strategy, okay? Now that's for the gold folks. You've signed up for the gold program, the first 20 folks. I'm actually going to even include for the first 5 people that sign up for the platinum, I'm going to work one-on-one. You'll get a one-on-one Facebook ad strategy session with me. I never do this. I actually have a team. I have a team of Facebook ads experts. I don't have time, unfortunately, but for this program, I'm really committed, because I know that coupled with Ann's extraordinary teachings in this business transformation program, add on my Facebook ad support, I tell you, you won't even recognize yourself in the next few months, let alone next year. So go ahead and join us now. You've got the link there. Otherwise, it's marismith.com/TBT, short for not Throwback Thursday, which it normally is, but TBT is Total Biz Transformation. So marismith.com/TBT. Folks, we do have some questions. We're excited to take questions. Let's go ahead. Can we announce that winner? Do we have the first winner there, Deb? I know. Oh, it is. It's Nicole Jolie. Nicole in the house. Hello, girlfriend. How exciting.
Hi, Nicole.
Nicole was on that hangout that we did. And she was so excited the other week there when we did that hangout. And so we have a question here from Nicole. Awesome. Based on sequential success, she says, I already have her funnel. I already have my funnel, my tracking, my legal together for my website, and I'm ready to launch a funnel with a personalized report. What would you recommend based on your sequential success program for a demographic that I may not be thinking about for an anti-aging skincare for athletes? Yes.
Okay, great. It's a great question, because it's actually very much part of the first kind of 6 to 7 modules is about finding out, are you tapping into your marketplace properly? Because if you're not doing that properly, you need to make sure that you are. What we do in sequential success and what I do with my method is it's about not necessarily, maybe you're thinking of launching quite soon. I might say to you, hang on a minute. Let's not launch this month. Let's actually dive into seeing, have you got this set up properly first? Now that may be a choice. You may go, no, I actually want to launch and go ahead. But my whole thing is making sure that you're positioned best and to get the maximum result. Because it's actually easier to do that before you launch than after you launch. You only get one chance at a first impression. So you've got to make sure often that that first impression is in the right place to the right marketplace. And if you go ahead too early, you're being premature. You know, it's not what you want to do. And it's going back to what Danielle talked about in much of her conversation. People want the quick fix. They want to get the thing out there. You know, they just want to make it happen. We live in a quick fix society, but business is not a quick fix. Business is something that you want longevity from, you want ongoing income from, you want it to have a sense of security, you want to know that you've got something that's going to work long term. You can't do that by doing quick fixes. I don't care how many times you hear people telling you can go and do this, that, and the other. I'm telling you, because I've probably had more success than most of these people put together, that you actually, the way to make this work is to do things in a considered fashion. You've got to make all the right considerations first before jumping in, and then figure out, okay, so where is that marketplace for this product? Am I missing something here? How do I find out I'm missing pieces? That's what it's all about. So it's a fantastic question that you've asked, because it's allowed me to be able to highlight the fact that most people are jumping in too fast. Be more considered, hold back a moment, and then go for it.
Deb, could you just pop the second part of Nicole's question there too, because I did want to speak to that. Nicole is bringing up a really important point here too, Ann, and asking about where she should look for the demographic. And then also, Nicole, you were asking for what's the most important thing that she should be looking for in order to sell her product via social media. and getting more people interested in my product. Now then, this is a trap.
Yeah.
This is a trap that people fall into, folks. What Nicole, and I love you, I think you're awesome. I know we've met many times, and I love your passion and your commitment to your business, and it's great that you have this new product you're bringing out. Think about building a tribe, building a community, a mobilized, active, engaged, excited community. Start there. All right. And from there, you can be doing some pilot testing, some testing, and getting market feedback. I'm trying to think of the name, Amber, a lady called Amber, and she has a company called The Patchery. She was on tour with me last year in Facebook. She was one of the case studies that we moderated on the panel. And Amber she started with a private Facebook group with about 600 moms, and The Patchery makes custom clothes for kids. And before she even would bring out any design, she'd go into her group and ask her moms, like, what do you think about this? And then now she's done really, really well for herself, obviously being featured by Facebook. And then she'd be like, oh, I'm thinking about doing yoga pants for mom. What do you all think? They're racing to give her feedback. Similarly, I actually recently created to help with the Sequential Success launch and going forward into more business programs that myself and Ann and myself will be offering. I started a group called Mari Smith's Leading Entrepreneurs. We have almost 2,000 people in there. It's a wonderful community. And so, and Nicole, I believe you're in there too. So if you could emulate something like that, it would be a fabulous place to start. Also, even a passion page. I mentioned earlier about the startup and the beauty company that my partner and I are working with. We have a passion page called All Things Gorgeous. Not even any mention of the product or what we're doing or that we're in makeup. We're just getting a big fan base of people who are the right clients, potentially, when we're ready to invite them to come in and become clients. So a really good point you brought up here, Nicole, and I think it's very, very important for everybody to realize we get so close to it, right? We have this product, we want this product, we want to sell it. Where's my people? Buy my product. No. Create your audience, create your people. Your vibe creates your tribe, right? Get those motivated, excited, passionate people in your community. Get them really advocates for you, influencers, and out there helping you to sell once you're actually ready to go out there with your offer. Okay, so with that, what's next? We have another question from Elizabeth Deutschman Belknap. I hope I said your name right.
Thank goodness you were saying it, Mara, because I'm looking at it going, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to say that name.
She's a wealth coach at Vector's Coaching. Hey, Elizabeth, welcome. Thanks for being here. She says, I'm creating an online horse industry brand selling events, fashion. Would it be best to create a brand under the name Equus Living or use my own name as a personal brand? Ooh, I bet you get that a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so Elizabeth, I'd actually need to understand more about where you're seeing this brand going in terms of product offering or even service offering to kind of answer this fully. But just looking at what you're asking, should it be Equus Living or would it be under your own personal name? I would be going under Equus Living. Because the other thing you want with a brand is potentially you want to be able to sell it at some point. That's where you make the big money. So when you're in business, you're making money as ongoing revenue and income and your annual takings from being in business. But the thing you want to eventually do is probably do a deal and sell something. That's where you get the big ticket price at the end of the day. And if you grow something with a brand that's not your name, that makes it an awful lot easier. There are occasions when a brand name can be sold under a person's name as well. So you might have something like Jenny Craig, where you've got weight loss, or you've got other things that's under a particular person's name, lots of cosmetic brands, etc. But they are kind of standalone entities, and it's actually easier to do it under a brand name that is representative of the thing that you're selling. So without diving in deep and being able to do an immersion, my overview of that would be go down the route of the name. You may want to work on that name a little bit more as well.
Okay, I'm looking at the show notes. We have a grand prize winner? Wait, we have one other. Don't we have one more prize to give away?
Nicole's the grand prize, and then there was another one for...
Nicole! Are you
Nicole's
still there, girl? Nicole, you are the grand prize winner!
Fantastic.
Well, we already gave you both some great advice already, so you're off and running, and just you wait. Hey, everybody watch this space, because Nicole Jolie, you're going to remember that name. Yes, you are. She's going to be a household name this time next year. She's a firecracker. I know she thinks she's in the fitness as well. I know you've given me some advice over the years on fitness. Okay, so congratulations. Beautiful. Love it. Look forward to working with you. And we have one more prize in a moment. But meanwhile, Jackie Hitchin, Ayr, is that Ayr as in Scotland? Scotland in the house. Freedom. Okay, Jackie says that she had a wee chat with you a few weeks ago. She provides tuition on how to utilize office programs, social media, tablet devices, all totally relevant to today's environment. Totally agree with you, absolutely. And she often gets asked who is her target market. She feels is everyone. Another trap, right? What do you say
Shall
to
we
that?
bail out now? Okay, you can't, well, it's not that you can't, it's that it's not wise to go after everyone.
Yeah.
You have to figure out, who, even if eventually you have multiple markets that you're going after, you have to decide what your focus is going to be on first. And that focus may be kind of on one trajectory and then going after the kind of the mini marketplace within that trajectory. And then if that's working and you've got that successful, then you can start to leverage and move into other areas and diversify it. But you have to bring focus. It's again, going back to one of the things that Danielle brought up when she was on Skype. It's about making sure that you're doing something that's not overly complex. Once you start trying to do everyone, it's not going to work. Even this program, this Total Biz Transformation program, is not for everyone. This program is aimed at people who have 0 to 30 employees. If you've got over 30 employees, this is not the right program for you. So if you've got from 0 to 30 employees, this program is right for you to make sure you get all the foundational pieces in your business in place. Now you can be, a startup, an emerging or an expanding entrepreneur within that, but for the program to work for you, you need to actually be in one of those categories. And for selling all these devices, you need to decide what your focus is to try and get out there and market them. Even somebody like Apple, who you would think is selling to everyone, in one way it appears they're selling to everyone, but actually if you look at their whole marketing tactics, it's about targeting a specific market who are their core customers, and then those core customers will also attract other types of customers as well.
I love it. That's good. And could you speak real briefly to something you said the other day about most people are kind of under the illusion that they need to create one composite avatar, whereas you talk about having different target markets. I think that'd be really valuable for everybody to hear.
Yeah, I talked about that very briefly in one of my little mini videos.
Yes.
And, again, people will think that they have to have a specific customer base they're going after. So it's, it's Mrs. Jones is their ideal customer, and she's 37, and she wears exercise gear, and she does X, Y, Z, and that's who you're going after. You sort of boil down to that one person, and that's who you go after. But that's actually not a wise thing to do, because even within that marketplace, there's going to be marginal variations in that type of person. So you may look at your focused area, but within that focused area, there is going to probably be variations of 2 to 3 different types of characters that make up your customer avatar. So don't just go after the one customer. There's going to be marginal changes. Now, big business does this all the time, but most small businesses and mid-sized businesses don't do this. And I think, big business may seem like it's out there and way out of your scope if you're a small business owner, but there's so much that happens in big business that small business owners need to be doing. And that goes right back as well to the whole thing in the very first question from Nicole about, she's ready to launch this product, etc. Big business would never just go and launch a product, would it? And you know that. You know that yourselves that wouldn't happen. What big business does, first of all, is it checks things out, it researches, it looks for the marketplace, it figures out how it's going to do it, it works out its campaign. They do it in a sequential success method, which is what I do from day one. And this is what I teach people. You have to implement these sequences so that you set yourself up for success.
Brilliant. Absolutely love it. Okie dokie. So here's the thing. I just heard a little birdie whispered in my ear that Nicole Jolie, she is so excited to be our grand prize winner that she has actually decided to utilize that prize to apply towards her signing up for the Platinum program.
Fantastic.
So I think
fantastic.
that's absolutely
That's really great. I really look forward to working with you, Nicole. It'll be an absolute pleasure to work
Likewise,
with you.
likewise, yes.
Yeah.
So as a reminder, my friends, marysmith.com/TBT, go ahead and register today for Ann McKevitt's Total Biz Transformation 15-week program. Now that actually I didn't say this earlier, but I'm going to underscore this for everybody. I am actually going to be going through the program as a participant with you all, and we have a Facebook group for our gold and a Facebook group for our platinum members, and you will actually get to have interaction with me. I'll be in there learning and applying and reapplying and integrating. And as I mentioned, we have a super duper special bonus. Given that my passion and expertise is Facebook marketing, I am the premier Facebook marketing expert. I am giving away to the first 20 folks who sign up for the gold level program of Ann's Total Biz Transformation. You will get my Facebook ad fast track program where I will actually give you personal coaching and guidance on improving your Facebook ad performance. There are 3 critical numbers that you need to know when you're placing your Facebook ads, and most everybody gets these wrong. I want to be able to help you understand what they are, okay? And for the 5 folks, first 5 that sign up for the the platinum level, and remember, by the way, quick sidebar, 30-day full-on money-back guarantee, okay? So if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, and we've shared our own stories, so sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, is this where I want to put the money, or where am I going to get the money? Whatever stage you might be right now, minimum commitment, it's at, what is it, $347, $300, just over $300 is the first payment for the gold level. Go ahead and come on board, and you've got 30 days to decide. Platinum level, $1,300. You have a split payment there offer as well. And to circle back to what I was going to say, for the first 5 folks to sign up for Platinum, I'm actually going to give you a one-on-one Facebook ad strategy session with myself. I do not even do this for anybody out there. I'm just so committed to get this information in the hands of the small and medium-sized business owners that can really make a difference. And with applying Ann's teachings, and that you've heard from Danielle and you've heard from myself, and the profound difference that that makes, even just a few shifts, it can radically alter your beliefs, how you think about yourself, how you think about your business, your finances, who you recruit to help you, the sales process, the frequency. Getting more done in 90 days than most people do in 12 months is absolutely extraordinary. So folks, I look forward to working with you and helping you improve your business, reaching a much wider audience, helping you to make more revenue so that you can live more of the life of your dreams. I know for me, one of my biggest dreams in terms of absolutely exponentially year after year increasing my revenues to be able to help my family. I really love being able to help my family. I love helping people and being a mentor myself and funding the startups of companies and really just making a difference on the planet. So
if I can jump in as well, Mari,
yes,
because this bonus that you're giving is just amazing with the whole Facebook adverts thing, because I've said to you recently as well, a number of my clients are now generating 80% of their customers solely through using Facebook adverts. And I've got one client who their annual turnover is around about the $50 million mark. It's an online business, and it is done purely through Facebook adverts.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So, you know, to have your expertise and your help to get people to do this is just phenomenal. And not only will they get the total biz transformation, but they get the social media piece as well, which is obviously your forte. And it's a fantastic package for people.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's actually one of the businesses that was on tour with me last year with the Facebook Boost Your Business, took her business from $1 million a year in revenue to $10 million in 18 months.
That's very impressive.
Using just Facebook ads, and her magic secret sauce was lookalike audiences. I'm going to actually teach you what those are and how to use them in your business. Okay, so you can take an audience you have already and say to Facebook, go and find me more people like this because I want to reach them with my special offer. So go ahead and click. If you're watching this stream right now, we have a join now button right there, or you can go to marysmith.com/TBT. You got the gold level, the platinum level, full-on money-back guarantee. Both Ann and I look forward to really, really working with you closely. I look forward to helping you to improve your Facebook ads. I'm going to personally review your Facebook ads, and I'm just checking the show notes here. Actually, I believe we have a few more minutes left in our show here, and we're going to close out with one more question. We've got time for one more question, and did we give away all our prize winners? And we have one more winner.
Want to announce her first?
One more winner to announce, and Deb's frantically looking for the name.
There we go.
It is! Drum roll!
We found you.
Teresa Carter Goodrich in the house. Congratulations to you, Teresa. We look forward to sending you $250 you can spend on Amazon. I recommend getting something really, really awesome for your business. Okay, if you really have to, you can get a plaything, but I do recommend something to help you improve your business. A Kindle or a Fire or a Echo, those magic little things that you play your music through, right? I'm going to get a 360 camera. That's what I'm going to get. Last question, Heather in the house. Hiya, Heather. Heather Reinwald-Graham. Gosh, you and I have been connected for a long time on Facebook. Heather's question is, do you think the program is good for someone who works full-time, this is a really good one, but has a desire to position themselves to go on to the next level, to be able to leave the current employment and venture out on their own harbor? You know what, that actually gives me goosebumps thinking about that, Heather. I'm really, really excited about you and what you're up to. I look forward to hearing more about what your business and your vision is. Remember Danielle, she was basically just barely keeping it together with her $400 in 1 year, and having some health challenges and whatnot, and bless her heart, what an extraordinary woman. I mean, now to see where she is and having radically changed her life with Ann's impact, becoming now an award-winning entrepreneur. What would you have advice to Heather?
I actually smiled when I saw Heather's question come in, and I could see it before you did, Mari, because at Christmas time, I had one of my oldest school friends come and stay with me in Australia for the whole Christmas period with her family. And we grew up together. We used to walk to school together every day, and we're still very, very close friends. Now, she has gone through a couple of career transitions. She actually was originally a nurse and worked in the A&E department for about 15 years. And then she was struggling financially, so she trained to be a lawyer while she was still nursing, and a single mother. So it's like just extraordinary. And she became this lawyer. Now, she doesn't like being in law. She is actually not enjoying it. And she's been, she's fully qualified. She's been in law about 10 or 12 years now. She has been starting a side business for the last year. And that side business is a jewelry business, which she only sells through Facebook. And so when she started to tell me she was doing this jewelry business, she wants to eventually build it into a business that she can let go of the law and transfer over to her creative side and just sell jewelry. So I started to help her a little bit by forming these kind of adverts that she would do on Friday, and set up a Fashion Friday where she would have her necklaces and bangles and things for sale. It's all stuff that she designs and creates herself. So fast track, she comes to stay with me at Christmas time, and she obviously starts to ask me more business advice and information. And it's because of my friend that I decided that I needed to sell a program that would allow people to know how to do business properly, because I suddenly was reminded of how little somebody can actually know when they're trying to dive into business. So the mix of having the scholarship group and my closest old school buddy trying to leave this law and go into jewelry made me realize that, I shouldn't just be telling her how to do stuff. I should be sharing this with more people. It's a very wise decision to do this gradually. And if you get in on the program and learn the whole foundational piece of how to set a business up, you will be not even 10 steps, you'll be like 20 steps ahead of most people who just throw themselves into business or hope for the best. So what the program will do for you is the program will set you up so you don't have what I call guessology. You won't be trying to guess at how to do stuff. You'll actually know how to do stuff. You'll follow the sequence. You'll understand the importance of, if you're creating something, how you go about selling that and when you sell it, what the build up is until the point of sale. The other piece, which I haven't really touched on enough on this, and I do want to say it aligned with this question. you have to be hungry to make money, okay? Being in business is about generating money. Now, a lot of people are kind of put off by money, and they sort of, it almost feels like this kind of dirty, tangible thing that they don't want to talk about. You have to be enticed by money and see money as a thing, as your goal, because once you have the money, that allows you to do whatever you want with it. And many people kind of think of money as, well, I don't want it to change me, I don't want to be this different person, how would I handle great wealth? That's not really what I'm talking about. Money in business shows whether you're doing something successfully. How you handle that once it hits your bank account is entirely up to you. If you want to give it all away to a charity, then so be it. If you want to live humbly and do something else with the money, so be it. I'm not saying go and live the kind of an ostentatious lifestyle, but generating income from your product or service and your business is the way that you have to view this. So for you starting out, one of the things that you will get your head around in the early stages of the program is, we're in this to make money. This is why we're doing this. This is why we're in business. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just stay in your job? Stay in a cubicle. And I know that Danielle said to me as well in the past that if she hadn't kind of gone through the program, she would be back working in a cubicle. So what having a business does is it gives you freedom to live life on your own terms. But knowing how to set up a business from the get-go in the correct way, you couldn't be in a better place to do that. So to answer your question, it's absolutely the right thing to do, is join it, get the foundations in place, and don't make the mistakes that many other people make and are now in a position of having to try and correct those.
Outstanding. Thank you so
My
much,
pleasure.
Ann. And thank you, Heather, for that great question.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
a
can
really good question.
resonate with it because I was an employee all my life up until 1999 when I got the invitation out of the blue to come to San Diego. And I've actually been an entrepreneur ever since and never looked back. I tell you what, when you can be your own boss, it's pretty amazing. Sometimes I'm a bit of an ornery boss, though, I must admit, working for myself. I'm sure people can relate. But you know what? The entrepreneur gets to choose their own direction. And Heather, I'm excited to hear more about what you got. Please, folks, remember that midnight tonight, the offer goes away to be able to get the Facebook Fast Track Ads course with myself. You can't find it anywhere online. This is a secret special offer just for the folks to decide to join the Total Business Transformation Program today, okay? And it's absolutely 50% scholarship because of my relationship with Ann and because I'm committed to helping Ann to get the information out there to many, many more small business owners. Ann was telling me that she's had this vision for about 10 years, and due to one thing and another, and I know with some personal family members and whatnot, and being able to just have that time on your schedule to be able to move forward and help more people. It's really quite extraordinary. I'm so excited. So go ahead. You know what, folks? Here's the deal, and I love this. Life rewards action takers, and so do we. And so earlier we were talking about running along Oxford Street and running like a cheetah, and Ann loves working with action takers. I love working with action takers. Just make a decision. If this is for you, come on board. We'd love to work with you and help you to grow your business exponentially. I personally would love to help you to reach many, many more of your audience through social media after you've been able to benefit from the incredible teachings that Ann has for you. We are going to get to know each other pretty intimately. I'm going to be in the program with you for the full 12 weeks. Well, really it's 15 weeks, as Ann says. There'll be Facebook groups for the gold level and the platinum level. Folks, we are actually out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. And from my heart to yours, I know, how many miles did you travel to get here?
Oh, it was a 14-hour plane ride from Sydney.
8,000 some miles.
8,000 miles to get here.
Yes, well, I drove 30 minutes to the studio. Seriously, I said, from my heart to yours.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. I really, I'm so excited that so many people want to be part of this. And do make sure you jump in quickly, because once those 350 are gone, the scholarship level, that's them gone. And same with the platinum level, there's only 30 of those. I'm really, really excited. I can't wait to work with you all. And don't forget, I'll be doing Q&As with you every third module as well, so you'll be able to continue chatting with me about your particular businesses. So dive in there, join, make sure you're part of this great movement that's about to happen. Thank you all for taking part.
Indeed. We'll see you soon. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Thank you.